very good afternoon to everyone. Mr. Sinha, I happen to hear that Amitabh Bachchan is your favorite actor.
Who's that? Tell me in the audience who was in the...
So Mr. Bachchan is a great example of someone, a performer who's managed to evolve beautifully with the changing seasons of cinema. And I'm sure you're all wondering where I'm going with this because the topic is nowhere close. But if I'm allowed to draw a parallel, I think Mr. Sinha here has done a fantastic job of emulating his favorite actor by not just adapting, but by also staying ahead of the curve in all these 4 decades that he's been in the media industry. A big hand for him.
Thank you, thank you. You know, thank you. A lot of people last 10 years been asking me, when are you retiring, when are you retiring, you know. So it's good to see that at least you're converted into a positive. That very much there.
So coming back to the topic, I think leadership lessons from the best. Okay, so Mr. Sinha, you launched India's first specialized media agency in Lodestar, and then of course pioneered the whole concept of research and data-led media planning. And now we are looking at something called agentic AI, which literally automates the entire process. How much of an advantage and how much of a disadvantage is that going to be according to you?
So I think it's a great opportunity because I think with AI you can't escape it. It's going to be there, and a lot of stuff will get automated, and therefore there will be a certain sameness which you see. Today in our teams, I'm sorry to say this, in our teams a lot of people get carried away by the operations and the basics, what globally is called implementation. So they get carried away by that. And a lot of that hopefully will get sorted out whenever it happens, at whatever pace it happens. But I think there's also a great opportunity for quality work to happen. So today, if you see in any media agency, you'll find people are bogged down with work-life balance in terms of time. They say they don't have time to think. Now, whether it's real or whether it's an excuse for not doing quality work. So I think there'll be great opportunity for people to, there will be some problems, some people will get caught out. But by and large, it will be a great opportunity for people to use as a tool and to say, listen, this is what I can deliver on, and do quality work. And finally, when there's sameness in plans, you have to show difference. How will you show difference? You'll show by quality, The best work comes when someone intervenes, So no amount of, I'm an engineer of sorts. When I say sorts because I never practiced it, but I learned very early Fortran 4 programming that time. The pioneer of that in India just passed away, Dr. Rajaraman, who was my professor. And Fortran 4 taught you basics, but after that is how you interpreted programming is what you did. So I think there's a great opportunity for young people who are joining our business that they will get time to do quality work for themselves. And so I won't be worried, I'd be happy.
But in such a case, where will the accountability really lie?
No, accountability comes. See, finally, today on the creative side, how do you decide who's done what? Accountability is more on the quality of stuff. So leaders, that's what leadership is all about. You can make out whether individuals or teams have contributed and how they're doing. So, people in the business are smart. They know. So accountability is not going to be an issue at all. It's very easy. So people like us and a lot of others also, they know that what is happening, who's to. Forget what the public speak is, but people know. So accountability is not going to be an issue at all.
Also, there was a time when I think the kind of visibility that a brand would get would be directly proportional to the amount spent on the media placements. It was very difficult to ignore campaigns like Surf or Coke, Pepsi or an Amul back then. But today, a simple social media post can sort of give a brand the same amount of visibility if it goes viral. So do you feel that's a worrisome trend? Because, no spends or zero spends is equal to bigger returns maybe.
It's not a worrisome trend, firstly. It's a good sign. So people will try and focus on getting that what you call virality, getting good work out, good content out, which people like, and at low cost. Having said that, it's a bit of a misnomer. There may be 1 or 2 cases, but if you see historically advertising, it's all finally paid work. It's a combination of the money which you put behind it and the quality of output which is there. It's rarely one. There are instances there. You took some of the brands you took, names you took on in today's times also. You can't take away from great work, but you also cannot take away from media pressure. Both work, whichever form media pressure takes, whether media pressure takes paid social or media pressure takes influencer, whatever it is, but there is media pressure. So when Hindustan Lever Surf may be putting pressure, they may not be putting pressure on TV to that extent they were putting. They're still putting pressure on TV, but finally they were doing influencers, which is all paid. So, so I think don't let this. So in my mind, the best work which came out in the last so many years of advertising was quality work, and it had media pressure. It is a combination of both. Rarely was it. There were instances of small pressure, or low pressure, or virality as you call it. But it's a combination. You can never take away that combination. The combination will survive. The quantum may change. One day media pressure may be less, but overall you need good output. And good output by itself is not good enough. You need pressure. I'm using pressure as a euphemism for paid for money behind it.
So in a way, the reason I asked you this question is because, just to give you an example, I think HUL has become a social media first strategy brand. And for years we've seen all these fantastic actors appearing in, say, ads like Lux. And years later we see Rahul Subramaniam sitting in a tub endorsing Lux, just like Shah Rukh did many years ago. And that also gave them quite a bit of virality. So are you telling me that the amount of spends are still as much? It's just that the medium is getting.
In fact, the point I'm making to you is the form of spend may be changing, but if you go and see Lever's balance sheet over the last 4, 5 years or 3 years, to my mind, and Naval will probably endorse what I'm saying, I don't think the spends have come down. If at all, they've come up. The spends as a ratio of sales keep going fluctuating because, they keep, so absolute spends don't compare because, sales cycles go through ups and downs. Like last year has been a tough year. So, but as a percentage, I don't think there'll be a big change. So if you see a track record, so they're putting money, and I can see from my clients, why I speak for levers, they're putting money, but the form may be different from mass media, it may be influencer, maybe social, what do you say? I yet to meet a case on advertising. It may happen elsewhere in other categories. But on advertising, where on Facebook or Google or whatever, if you don't put money, you get results. You virality doesn't come easily. So, by the way, as some people know, I'm known for saying things directly. So people know. So finally, it's a combination of good content and media pressure.
Fantastic. Now, in your early years, I think one of the big things to happen to media was perhaps a split of creative and media. Now we can't help talk enough about how many media platforms exist. For someone who's been here in the media business since the Doordarshan days, would you say the number of platforms has taken the joy away from media planning because what works on one doesn't really work on the other? Or would you say that's added to the challenge and the intrigue of media planning?
It's both ways. So that high of telling your mom that we made this film, I remember when I got into advertising, most people here won't even know. Won't even know the advertising, leave alone the product. There was a product called Godrej Stowell, which was heavily advertised. Godrej had bought this program called Mahabharat and they used to put this on. The joy of telling my family that spot, I was involved in the making of that commercial, the famous commercial, from which came the Asian Paint series. So I say the joy of, telling family is there. So that maybe has gone away. But having said that, I keep going back to that. If you do good work, whatever the platforms may be multiple. It may be very fragmented, and today there is a huge amount of fragmentation. Even television has fragmentation, leave alone digital media. So here's this fragmentation. Yes, you have to try that much harder to be noticed. But good work finally will be seen. Good work has a way of seeing. You see any top 10 campaigns of last year. You pick up from a creative director's standpoint, what are the top? And the reason I'm speaking a particular language, the emphasis for a variety of reasons in meetings like this is shifted to people like us who are media people. There is tremendous need for young creative to find their mojo back because that you cannot take away. One great piece of work which is done and then with a fair amount of media pressure will still remain. So yes, platforms will be difficult. It's for the youngsters to analyze, to see for themselves, and there are enough data sources. Unfortunately, digital doesn't have too many of authentic third-party digital sources. All self-claimed. Most of it is self-claimed. I'm not saying all. So there are question marks on measurement, but so that's a job. And with your point earlier of the more the platforms, the more the technology available, the more you can analyze those platforms. So it's not a big deal.
No, but having said that, with the emergence of platforms, there's also that question of some of these are going to last and some of them won't. There's a short shelf life to some of them. Now, currently, my LinkedIn feed is filled with posts saying, predicting the obituary of influencer marketing. Also something like metaverse, which came with a bang but left without any sound. So how do you, of course you're a veteran and you know this, how do you as a media agency head decide which one to really invest in and which one is going to go away?
So I think, and I think a very interesting point you raise, a lot of us in the business look for the next big trend, correct? And want to ride that. So we talk about it like you gave the perfect example of metaverse, yeah? And every workshop you went to, and I won't name names, but clients speaking, such similar firms saying, auto brand saying, I've done this, I'm the first on metaverse, the desire to be first, to please the ecosystem, to please the global masters is one desire. But the industry or the system knows when it crosses a threshold and is critical mass for it to be viable. So there are these experiments which happen for right or wrong reasons. But by and large, people are aware, the mass knows, okay, now this is the platform to go with, or this is the medium to go with, or this is the trend to go with. And I think that there's a fair degree of, whether you call it measurement or 5 other ways. And most clients have a way of understanding what is working, what is not working. They have various mechanisms to evaluate. So I think that is something. So there are 2 parts. One is, I won't call it a fad, but one part is this whole beating the trend or being the first on the trend, is one. And the second is continuing. I mean, all the example you gave, influencer even today is large money going in there. Who knows what will happen 1 year down the line. But so I think this is how it is. So there is what people say at work conferences like this and what they do, they're smart enough to understand what works, what doesn't work. Yeah?
If you have to give me one platform that's really going to survive, according to you, what would you put your money on?
There are many. There are many, the large platforms, they're not going to go away in a hurry. The search platforms, the social media platforms which are there, they're here. Whatever people say about Facebook, all young people say we are on Instagram. But Facebook still works, Instagram is there, it's not going to go away. So these are large numbers. To replicate these numbers will take a lot of time. Similarly on search. So I think some of these are there. Shares will go up and down. You can't suddenly. So most campaigns today, which you alluded to, some people will spend some money on a trend. But bulk of the money even today is going on this platform. Now for me, all the shopping platforms, e-com platforms, they're there. They're all getting the money. Along, the Amazon and the Flipkart, where the bulk of the money is going. So they will keep continuing getting the money. Your trend is something else which is happening. That's where the mass is.
Now, India is very unique as a market. And, we've seen a lot of media customization happening, which wouldn't be the norm globally. For example, I would say OTT, when it came to India, was a very zero ad concept. Now it's literally a replica of TV. You're seeing ads everywhere. Premium, you pay for subscription. There are different kinds of subscriptions, with ad, without ad. I mean, just too many of them. What would be that next big customization to a big global trend, according to you, in India, which would be very unique to us?
So first things, and a lot of people may agree with me, may not agree with me. I'm a firm believer in this country, we like advertising. We want to watch advertising. That's the first belief I come from, and we enjoy advertising. Now the problem is the advertising will not be enjoyable. So if you see, and with no offense meant anywhere, if you see all the ads on IPL, you saw 80% of them are not enjoyable, correct? They're all celebrities and whatever they were. But whenever you see a good ad, you want to see it and you want to see it again, whatever. So I think what's happened is that for our people, to go back to discovering, creating content, I'm using advertising as a metaphor for content, that creating content was enjoyable for brands. I'm saying brand content, I'm not talking of things. So after that, the platform, what you allude to, I know where you're going, but the platform is a matter of, people like us feel very thrilled what a great platform we have developed and what a new innovation you have done. But in reality, it's the content makers or the content creators who are the real kings, So in this, see our history. See my history. See our mythology. We are big believers of content. Content at that time was storytelling. Ramayana was scriptures were not written down originally. They were all, narrated. So this is a country where content has always been king all through. So now what form it takes, what disruption it takes, what shape it takes, content is content and it's not going to be paramount. And if I can do a test and how many content people in the room here, how many people who do content themselves, not media people say we also content people, how many content people in the room? So I rest my case. Yeah. So finally, this sameness which is coming to us. Sorry to go back to your question where I meandered. That if you do great content, then all this is irrelevant. Wherever you'll catch it, and India will always look for content of brands and advertising. You see, go back to small town India. We're all sitting here, small town India. You go and check. People watch ads. They watch, they like the ads which come. So you see, whether television is still, the ratings still come, whatever people like, small town India ratings come. And you see, if you see the formula of the serials, it's a contrast. The serials are, and I'm sure most of you have seen the serials like Shaz Bahu or whatever, what is the logic? That women say, this is not us, this is below us. So they have thrills out of seeing this is not happening in our homes. But the ads are what is aspirational for them. This is what we can become. See the contrast. So the point I'm making is, there is still a lot of meat and juice we get psyched out, and therefore, please, you're on the right track, that we should always be looking at trends, but we should not forget the belly or the heart of what consumers want.
I'm just going to elaborate a little bit on, on the point where you said, we love advertising. There's a small clip I'd like to play. Sagar, can you cue that?
What if I told you a Chinese company just figured out how to kill ad breaks forever? Meet Tencent, the same tech giant behind WeChat that's quietly reinventing how ads even exist. Normally, when we watch a movie, there's that annoying moment. Pause, skip, or ad starts in 5 seconds. Tencent said no more of that. They're using AI and computer vision to embed ads inside the movie itself. Imagine this. An actor in a film is holding a coffee cup. The AI recognizes it and instantly replaces it with a brand you actually know. If you're in India, maybe it's Blue Tokai. If you're in the US, Starbucks. Same movie, totally different product. That means two people watching the exact same scene could see two completely different brands. Personalized based on your location, behavior, even purchase history. Tencent's already testing this with...
Okay. So basically what I'm trying to say is advertising perhaps is becoming part of the content and not just outside of it. While we love ads, you yourself admitted that 90% of the ads on
But
IPL
this is
were
not
terrible.
advertising. I'll tell you why. This is just brand placement. So you are saying Starbucks or you're saying something else, See, finally, what is the role of advertising? Advertising is creating some intangible value around a product, right? And normally, emotions play a big role in this country, even more so. This is a very emotional country. If you see, compared to the West, we are socially auto-directed. We are very social, family bonding, family values, joint families, all that, what I'm talking about, So it's the auto-directed society which leads to emotions. You see a lot of advertising. Maybe, I don't know the numbers, I tracked it earlier on, but now I don't remember. At least 70% of our successful advertising will be emotion driven. There'll be a formula. And we at Amul always have this formula. You see Amul advertising, good or bad, is always evocative, emotion driven. It's never this, what big platforms, without naming them, say 6 seconds, 3 seconds, or 2 seconds, your product should come, which is what this is, This is a product placement for a brand like established brand, fine. But even today, an Amul, the butter hoardings, aren't they evocative or not? Absolutely. If you kept saying the Amul butter, or would you see the interesting stuff which is coming around, You can't take the emotion out of human beings. You can't take the emotion out of Indians. This will not work.
But again, Amul ads are standout ads. I mean, most of the things that, most of the advertising that happens today, unfortunately, is more about discovery than really building value. So in that case, will something like this, where you don't really have to see an ad, but you imbibing the ad, discovering
But
the
Neeta,
product just
this
like
is,
that.
sorry for interrupting, this is Western values coming on to us. So this whole attention span and, comparing with goldfish and whatever, 6-second thing is fine. This is relevant. I'm not saying not relevant. But in a Western society, inner directed, the fellow sitting at home, single society, the whole thinking is different. So if a Western platform like Facebook says, first 6 seconds, your princess comes, beyond 6 seconds, the waste, people click, they click. But if you have evocative content, they will not, So I give you a small example, and this stayed with me since this is the time of Piyush Pandey, everyone talks. One of his most favorite ads, which he probably actually broke ranks with. First time he came to the limelight after Mile Surya Tumhara, when he became the national creative head, was that Cadbury ad. The girl dancing. It's a very simple thought of the girl dancing and on the thing. How many of you know how long was the sequence of the girl dancing? Does anyone know here? Think about it. Huh? Very good. Go and measure. 3 seconds, she says. Go and measure. You'll be surprised. 3 seconds in today's time, the girls who just started to shake. It's more than 9 or 10 seconds, maybe more. Today, that's sacrilege. So this whole thing of, if you see the theme which I'm building, at least in my mind, emotion, evocative thought, this will not work in today's time.
Another thing very interesting is, while we, of course, we all agree that media agencies have to be there for, bringing that brand value out. But there is competition sort of coming from within brands. We've seen a lot of examples of these in-house media agencies coming in globally. HP, and back in India, I think there is MASH, which is launched by Godrej. What is the new playground for media agencies if clients are also going to be doing that at some level?
So, I don't know if Godrej is an in-house agency. Godrej is Group M handling their media, if I'm not mistaken. So, there must be some reason for Godrej.
They've launched MASH, I don't know what they're doing.
Yes. So, you find out more. They had a creative in-house. My dear friend Swati Bhattacharya just quit. So, I will not dwell on this too much. I personally believe it's a stupid concept. I open my mouth unnecessarily. Culture, everyone thinks in our business all about culture. It's about, freedom, working multiple brands. Everything which we stand for is arithma. So it's a phase. People try phases, It's like, I remember performance marketing. A lot of people would take performance inside, then bring it out and take it inside. That still is partly acceptable. Having a creative agency or a media agency inside, you'll never get the exposure to other clients. You never get the exposure to best practices. Whoever thinks of it, forget Godrej. Firstly, Godrej doesn't have in-house media. But whoever has it, or thinking of it, I wish them well. My best wishes from far.
Now, another big word that everybody uses is transformation. And we are also seeing a lot of chat about the Omnicom IPG merger. Now, when that actually happens, what, according to you, will be the biggest challenge?
So, a nice way of under transformation bringing it the spot on to me. So, I don't know what but I think people will be the first challenge. We are a service industry. I think when the mergers of this kind happen, it's unprecedented, the kind of merger there. Obviously, clients on both sides will be concerned, what is happening to our teams, what is happening to our people, what is happening to, So I think the leadership, whoever the leadership is going to be globally and locally, to assuage, first manage the transition. I've done it quite a few times, so I can tell you from experience. I joke, the company which I work for, maybe something to do with my luck. 4 times it's been bought out. I've been part of the dowry 4 times. This is the 5th. So, but my experience of those 4 times is that it's finally people. You manage the people right. They come and believe in a shared value. Then everything else falls into place. Then the lofty vision of, the money we'll invest in technology and all that, that's all later. Definitely, I'm not saying that won't happen when the tools and techniques and the right investments, but you have to manage the transition with people, with clients.
And because of this 4 years of experience, I have to also ask you, what is that one challenge that you faced throughout in your career, thinking about which still makes you sweat?
It takes a lot to make me sweat, as Naval will vouch for it. But I think it's people. Finally, our business is quality people, and the more quality the people are, the more difficult to manage they are. So to manage those people in a framework, in a global company, in an environment, because they're all said and done, whatever you say, global companies, their checks and balances, their norms, there's a lot of other stuff. So it becomes very difficult to, you have to make. I remember way back in, I think it was, I forget the year, it was maybe when Lodestar was born. Lodestar was started by a lady called Apurva. I don't know how many of you know Apurva. That's the closest I've got come to getting sacked. So Lodestar, Apurva Purohit, we started Lodestar with her. Before that, she used to be in servicing. And she used to report to me in client servicing. Ulka at that time was a small company. And she said, I'm about to have a baby, so I can't work, I'll stop working. So why this, I'm telling you the year, think about it. She must be, I think, late 80s, it might be 89, 90, that time. So in those days, so I said, Apurva, why don't you want, you're so bright. This media requires skills, it doesn't require you client interaction that much. You come on and you come, alternate days or come half a day, So 3-4 hours and all that. She said, great. She started. My boss and super boss called me and said, what's wrong with you? This is against company policy. So she said, damn good talent, why loser? So she said, no, but it's not 5 other people will ask. I said, the leader's your job, whom to accept, whom not to accept. It will be favoritism. I said, let it be favoritism. He said, you have taken a wrong decision, you reverse. I said, I'm not going to reverse. And from there the story started. So they were kind enough to agree, and then 1 year, 2 years later, we decided to get into media because that time FCB had no media. So we created, that time IPG had not consolidated. So we started with, we created our own name. I don't know how many of you know, Lodestar is an Indian name. It's a name created by Purva. I said, Purva, you start, you think through, she's a Lodestar. And we started in, I think, 2000 or so, first year when we got going. First year we were Agency of the Year. First year. So the award started that year, and we were about tiny, we were this small compared to Group M and Initiative and other brands. And I remember people sitting there, who's this Lodestar? And someone called it Roadstar, someone is called it Truckstar, whatever, all kinds of names were floating, people making fun of us. But that's how the journey was. That girl, how she turned around, what she did in that one thing.
I think the time is up. I'll just leave you with one question, because you spoke about people, and we are all talking about the next generation, which is very different from the way we operate. What kind of leaders will Gen Z be, according to you?
What kind of?
Leaders will Gen Z be?
See, we desire for looking for differences. I would say look for commonality, you know. So differences are there, their whole expectation of work-life balance, their whole way to life is different, yeah. That's fine, that I think has taught us also, this COVID has taught us. But the commonality is you reach out to people work for people. One mantra in my mind, in my life, and which has not changed, and it's got nothing to do with media or whatever. I believe people work for people. So my leadership team of 10, 11 people, they've been with us for 3-4 of them have started day one jobs. 2-3 are more than, in fact 5 of them are day one jobs. Believe it, day one jobs. 30 years, 40 years, the same company. The youngest member of the leadership team he's 62, but he's 10 years in the company. So that's the way, you know, so people work for people. If you good to people, they'll be good to you. Good doesn't mean being warm to them, good also being pushing them, but also driving them. So that, in my mind, is not going to change.
I think IP is blessed. They have a fabulous leader in you, and we hope to have more conversations with you in future. Always an honor to share the stage here.